Hello, friends. Welcome to CJoyYoga. So I had a request in studio this week. We have rad rollers here. At home, my preferred, if I'm going to buy a fancy set, is actually the Yoga Therapy tune-up balls because they're two separate balls that you put together in a little container, and that way it keeps them in this shape, but I can separate them and use them individually. I think it's more versatile. We're putting less waste into the world than getting a rad roller, which only has one function. That's a little simplistic, but um, and what I did for years before I got myself fancy yoga therapy tune-up balls, I put two tennis balls in a sock. You need that for today's sequence. So if you don't have those things, wait until you do. Go buy a 3 pack of tennis balls, make this little fancy dancy device, and then come on back. But it's worth getting it. It doesn't cost much for the tennis balls. I think the Yoga Therapy tune-up balls are like 15 bucks. I don't know. I haven't looked at rad rollers in a while, but I think these are more along the lines of like 20 or something. And it's worth having it. Okay, hit pause, get your stuff, come back. And then here we go. So we're going to start on our backs, but my suggestion is this because we're going to slowly roll down the spine is that you start close to the foot side of your mat, right? And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to roll back down. So I'm not all the way, my head is not all the way towards the head side of the mat, right? Makes sense? And then from there, let's just go ahead and take a moment before we rush in. And you can find yourself in constructive rest pose or shavasana. We'll be in constructive rest pose for a good chunk of class, so it might be a good blueprint pose for you. Just notice where you're at. Where's your body at? No judgment, right? That non judgmental experiencing of noticing, noticing and accepting. I have numbness here, pain here, tingling here. I feel the wind if I'm outside or the breeze of the air, right? My waistband, just whatever you sense in your body. What's happening with the breath? You don't have to change it, just notice. Chances are it's already started to slow down and smooth out, just simply from starting to bring your awareness inward. And then as we start to roll out, one suggestion is anyone who has longer hair, you might want to tie that up because it can get caught in the balls and that sucks. I'm going to lift my head and bring the balls in right where my skull and my neck connect. Now, if that feels like you need that a little higher, you could always put a blanket under the balls, right? If it feels like there's too much pressure, you could put a blanket over the balls and just pause. I'll do another um, roll up video where we do this against a wall. So if this feels like it's too much pressure all the way around, you might wait for that one. Now go ahead and you're going to keep your weight fully down on the balls, but you're going to just start to gently rock your head right center, left center, just rolling across the balls. Take your time with it, always, always. The faster we move, the less mindful we are, the more muscles we engage. And for this work, we definitely don't need to engage a bunch of muscles. Just because I am often asked, I call it snap, crackle, pop. If you're feeling like you're getting little pops and things like that, as long as there's not pain associated with it, it's fine. Right? If it's a sharp shooting pain, that's you pinching a nerve, that's not okay. And then you could just lift your head and move your body, but we could also put our hands under our head and we're just going to inchworm back until the balls come down a little bit more towards what I'm going to call the bottom of the neck. and you might just stay there for a moment. Feel free to adjust something under it, something over the balls. And then it might just be simply rolling the head. The further down the balls go, the less effective this will be for some of us. So for some of us, we might take our arms and start to move them around. I'm not quite in arm land yet. I'm going to stick with the rocking of the head, but just meaning be willing to explore this. Right? And we're going to go down further still. So again, you can lift your body and move the balls. I like to move my body across the balls. So I just roll down a little further. So now I'm pretty much where my neck and my upper back connect. I've got a little bit of upper trap under the ball, but I'm still kind of at the base of my neck. It might be that rocking of the head. You might start to play with arms overhead and back down, or you can bring them out to saguaro cactus type motion across the body. Be willing to really explore and not just do, oh, well, the teacher said this. Play with it and find out where it is that you're finding your most um, effective amount of pressure in this spot as it needs it. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to either roll the balls a little further down. I'm at about the top of my shoulder blades or so. Right, so still very much in my upper back. You might pause for a moment, let the body get used to the pressure and what we're asking of it, right? And then you could do it separate. You could do one arm and just play on the one side. You could do both arms at one time. What pattern for the arms? Be willing to just kind of play slowly, subtly. Some people, when we start to do this work, I'll watch them just start to really try to get as much pressure as possible, and they want the results as quickly as possible. And just try to go nice and slow with it so that the tissues are receptive to what we're doing, right? They're not fighting you, trying to protect you. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to roll a little further down. So now I'm squarely between my shoulder blades. Pardon me. Be willing to, at any point in time, one part of the body might not be very sensitive and another part might be. So be willing to adjust, back off, put a blanket over it so there's not so much pressure. Do it against a wall. Again, I'll make a video about that later. Otherwise, just be willing to explore movement. Some people like to add in windshield wiper, and just by moving the lower body, they start to get into the tissues of the upper back. So that's an option, playing with the lower body. And of course, if you've got all the time in the world, you might do this, all of this incredibly slowly. And go ahead and roll a little further down. Again, you can keep lifting your body and moving the balls. I just find it so much easier and more efficient with my energy to just move my body and roll down slowly. Stillness, moving one side first and then the other. Be willing to just play and explore. Making rainbow arcs with the arms. Ooh, that's sensitive on me. I sometimes find just the really simple, you know how sometimes we're laying in class and I just have you inhale one arm overhead and then back down. I think this is just wonderful in this part of the body. And you could also try moving that arm out into saguaro cactus. And you could do both arms at once, but if you're powering to try to get through this, you're not being soft. So why are your tissues going to soften? You're not asking them to. It's partly in the intention and the quality of the movement as well, right? So don't try to make it happen. Don't try to take away 30 years of tension in 1 minute, coming from a girl who likes to do that stuff. And then roll down a little further, so I'm a little more towards the bottom tips of my shoulder blades ish, right? And you know the drill, it might be just softness. Maybe you're moving the arms around slowly, softly. I'm going to go back to just that simple reaching my arm overhead and then inhaling it and exhaling it down by my side and alternating, doing one side at a time. I find that to be really effective in my upper back. Again, you might be moving from the lower body, arms teed out, and moving in and out of windshield wiper. You can always try it and see if it's something that's working for you. You can always stay in a spot even when we move on. You've got all day long. Well, I don't know about all day long, but I'm going to lift my head and roll a little further down. So I'm probably just above my kidneys-ish, something like that. Now we're about midway through the spine or so. So that lower body might start to get a little more effective as a tool, right? Moving from the lower body. And it could be that windshield wiper. It could be bringing the knees into the chest and rocking, circling. And it might just be the arm, right? Or maybe it's start by moving the arms in the ways you have and then bring the lower body into play. But we are getting to a point where there's going to be a switch here in a little bit where it'll probably feel a little more effective moving the lower body to get into the tissue than the upper body. Just close your eyes and get lost in the sensations of it. And I don't mean lost like you're not being mindful. I mean like you're so mindful that that's where you are. You're right in the middle of the sensation. Now I'm starting to roll off my mat. I don't mind if you need to go down at any point in time and kind of start over towards the foot side of the mat. But I'm going to keep going with it. Not too much further, otherwise I'll be out of camera. I'm about on my kidneys. Remember those adrenal glands sit on top of your kidneys. Now you got ribs in between these balls and your kidneys, but I still like to think about my kidneys and my adrenal glands while I'm here. Wish them well, give them love, and of course I am still getting some pressure. But mainly think of the muscles that run alongside the spinal column and be willing to move the lower body or the upper body in any way that helps you roll out those tissues. Okay, I'm going to come up and come a little further into camera angle, although you don't need to see me really, right? But feel free to do the same at any point in time. So now when we roll down, we'll be a little bit beneath the kidneys. Think probably bottom of rib cage or rib basket, I prefer to call it. And again, whatever movement or stillness seems to be a place where there's enough pressure that you feel the tissues being moved right against the ball and using that resistance, but also not so much pressure that your body is freezing up to it and trying to protect. If your body is trying to protect your nervous system, you can tell it don't, and it's not necessarily effective. It's a survival thing, right? That you might not have any control over. So you might just soften and pull back. That's the way we start to work with the nervous system. Maybe you bring those legs in again. That's going to give you more pressure. That's too much pressure for me here. So I'm not going to do that, but you might. And I'm going to roll the balls, move my body towards the head side so the balls roll down my back a little bit. And I'm not quite in the middle of the low back, but pretty close. I mean, I guess I should say not middle of the low back, but the top rim of the pelvis. Not quite there yet. Windshield wiper. I find that just gently rocking one knee forward and then the other, and any of it. Right? There is no right or wrong. Again, close the eyes potentially and just tune in. The one thing I didn't address is if any of my friends have scoliosis, you're not going straight up and down, you're following your spine. You want the balls, no matter what your spine is like, you want your balls to be on either side of your spinal column as much as possible so that you're moving into those muscles and the connective tissue that run alongside the spine. So now it's not as sensitive in my low back, and I can hug my knees and rock and move. I'm not saying you should be able to. It's not a should. It's just I couldn't do that at the last one. It was too much pressure, and here it's a totally different ball of wax, and I'm only like an inch down in my spine. I find it fascinating how different it can be. Moving down. So now we're moving a little more towards that place where we're in the low back, just above where the top rim of the pelvis is. The iliac spine, I believe that's called. Been a little bit since I've looked at that piece in an anatomy book, so don't quote me, but and if there's a little less sensation one part of the body, don't think that's wrong or really try to push into it and find more. Like, just let it be what it is. Maybe there's an area that just doesn't have as much sensation in it. And that may be different from day to day depending on your activities and such. Let's go down. And now, you don't want to be on the bone necessarily, but right where the lumbar, L5, connects into the S1. And now I'm back to a little more sensitivity in this area. So I'm going to be a little slower, softer, gentler, and you can still be doing windshield wipers or various things, hugging the knees and trying to get more pressure. But again, I'm going to listen to my body, trying to do that more as a human being, but I was going to say a teacher, but just not get caught up in trying to show you every variation and everything if it's not right for my body. You're wise. You can imagine how you can bring yourself there without seeing my body doing it. And then go ahead and when you're ready, you're going to take the balls out of there. Come back into constructive rest pose. Pause and notice. And just be curious about, what the current sensations are, the current state of your body. But also, we're in the blueprint pose, right? You might contrast it to what was happening when you first checked in. And we're just gonna namaste from here on the floor, friends. So you can get up if you want, or bring your hands in front of your heart. Please don't lift your head off the floor, keep it soft. But you can imagine that you are bowing slightly and just taking a moment of gratitude. Gave yourself this space and time. If you're an omer, you can om. Namaste. May you be well, my loves.